Welcome, I'm Bev Adams. I own an independent paper crafting business showcasing products from Stampin' Up. I made this card with products from Stampin' Up. I sell these products and also a few items to make crafting more convenient. I have the free detailed directions for this project on my website. Just click the links for the products to be taken to my online store. You'll see where to find all of that at the end of this video. So don't worry about taking notes. It's time to put stamps, ink, and paper together. This set is from an early release. It was actually a full suite that was released early. I got Ornate Thanks and the Ornate Borders dies, and this comes together as a bundle. There's also the Ornate Layers dies, and they are all in the new annual catalog that goes live June 3rd. I can't wait to show it to you. I've been very busy making all my resources, my color charts and stamp case slips and my case inserts and all kinds of resources for you, including for the Ornate Labels suite. You will also want to use the Take Your Pick die brush tip and a die cutting machine. And I'm also using the Stamparatus. My ink is Granny Apple Green and my cardstock is Granny Apple Green. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock. These are not my typical sizes. The inside piece will be 5.5, so it'll be the full length of the card, by 4. And then this front one, I put on my directions to be 5.5 by 4 1/4. You just need it large enough for this die, and it is a large one. By the way, let me talk about the dies for just a minute. You've got all these lovely labels. And they almost all cut out a shape, a rectangle shape, except for these 2 smallest ones. These cut out the pattern, so maybe you might want to put it in the middle of this piece when you cut it out. It will not cut out the rectangle, and neither will this long strip. And I want to talk about the Ornate Borders dies for a minute too. These cut out, this one cuts out the shape just like you would expect it to by looking at it, and these 3 flowers can be layered. This one cuts out the edge. In fact, I made a sample card that's similar to the one I'm going to show you. So it cuts out this sample, but it leaves it connected to the card. And this one is the one I'm going to use today. And this looks like it would cut out a strip. This one actually cuts out this pattern and leaves it attached to the cardstock. But if you want it to cut out a strip, you can use this piece. You're going to be using them at separate times though, because the metal will stack on top of each other and you don't want it to do that. So you're going to cut this and then cut this. This one also cuts an edge. This side stays attached and this cuts out the border. And we're going to be using this one also. The scalloped edge will cut out the edge, and this stitched side will stay attached to the card. I said the card base was 5.5 by 8.5. I said this was 5.5 by 8 1/4 in my directions. Mine is actually 5.5 by 8.5, so I want to cut off 1/4 of an inch. And you could actually use this piece to put on the inside of your card if you'd like. I brought in my die cutting machine Have you seen the new machines? There's going to be 2 of them actually. I can't wait. So we're cutting with die, so we need the thin die adapter for this machine. And I've got my cut up messy plate. Now when you have a long skinny die like this, this machine has a roller. I think they all do have a roller inside that presses very hard. And if you have the die going this way, because it's actually longer than the width of the plate, it's really easy to get this caught up in the machinery and damage your die. And these also are easy to move around, so I'm using a little tag. It's plastic, so it can be reused and it stays pretty well. I'm going to put this piece right on the very, very edge of the cardstock. And I'm going to hold it down with this sticky. And I do want to close the card so that this can go the long way. The other thing that happens when you have the die going this way is the roller kind of butts up against the die and then kind of almost hops over, and sometimes it doesn't give a good cut. So it's best to go straight on or even at a diagonal if you can. And that's true of anything with a straight edge. So I'm just going to roll that through. And this really sweet little dotted and stitched and scalloped border. And I will have to do some poking or some using of my die brush. And then this is really kind of the tricky part. Again, this is the side that does the cutting of the edge, so I want it this way. They've got these kind of poking out parts here that are more to this side, so you want to have that side close to the edge. The other thing that's tricky about this is that if I flip it over, you can see that this leaf and this leaf are really right on the edge, and we want to leave as much as we can there. So I don't know if you can see, I think you can see that there's a cut and then a cut and then a little bit of metal. So if we're right up against that side, we should be good. Maybe even a little bit more. So I am going to place that here, and I am wanting this right on the edge. And I'm going to put these sticky notes here. This is kind of precise placement, and so I don't want it to move, so I'm going to hold it down. And because we've got the cardstock attached to it, I am going to put the big piece of cardstock in first, and I can kind of twist it a little bit if I can. And I want to make sure that the ends are not going beyond, and then cover it up. Now, because we are going across the fairly straight and skinny piece, I may not get a good cut. It is very tight. And I'm going to try very hard not to move this because I want to check. See, I did not get a good cut. I'm going to turn it with the cutting side up, and sometimes you get a better cut. I'm also going to cover it up with a shim, basically. I wondered where that other sticky note went. Again, I want to be sure that I don't hang over the edge. And I'll roll it through this way and see what happens. It's better, but I still think I need another shim here. So I'm going to try it one more time. Now this is all because I'm having to go parallel with the roller in there. Oh, and I can see I folded up my edge of the card. Do as I say and not as I do. I think I've got a workaround for that. Kind of hold up onto it here as it kind of hops over that die. Really slow. Okay. I wanted to show you that it really is kind of tricky there, because I don't want you to just kind of jump into the task and not realize what you're getting yourself into. Well, my position on the sides was great. You know, I decided I can use the die brush, and they were coming out pretty easily, so this is so much faster. And so only a couple of pokey places. And this is just so beautiful. As I mentioned, I've got this fold in here, and it's a pretty significant fold, but I can use the bone folder, and that straightens it out really pretty well. Plus, I'll be putting a piece of cardstock over there, so no problem. I keep the foam that came with the die brush and a stamp case, and I do have the case inserts for you, and it just makes it, I find it's really helpful for controlling all the confetti. I'm not done with the machine yet. I had those 2 pieces of Whisper White, and I'm going to go ahead and cut my rectangle. Now again, I've got this lined up even, and I probably should have turned it a little bit. I am going to run it through one more time and turn it just a little, so it goes in with the corner first. It will be much easier, should be much easier to roll through. And a great cut. This one's pretty easy to brush. I have to say, I'm such a sucker for these detailed dies. Do you remember back in the old days, maybe you weren't stamping yet, but we would cut out a rectangle, sometimes even with a ruler and a straight edge blade, and then get some sort of pattern by piercing. So we're almost done here. I'm just going to put this piece on the inside, and honestly I'm just leaving it blank, and this should go right up against the stitching. Perfect. And that helps this detail. Speaking of, I mean, can you imagine doing that with scissors or with piercing? You couldn't possibly do that. Just so gorgeous. Worth all the poking and the precision. Okay, I'm going to put this piece here, but it's really wider than I want. I want a straight edge. So I'm just going to mark this with a pencil. And I will use my trimmer to cut that. So this is going to go here, and I just want to stamp here. I've already lined that up so that if I have it on this line in here, it'll be right where I want it. And I want to have the magnets off the edge. I don't want them in the way. Just want to double check. Perfect. So I'm just going to ink my stamp. close it. All I need to do is attach that there. And I want to be right up against the top edge. And that's it. I think that's just such an elegant card. You can make this card. Here is the web address for this project, where you'll find the free detailed directions and links for the products I used. Under Shop, I have tips for online shopping, frequent shopping rewards, and products I offer to help you stay organized. I offer a cardstock sampler, taggers to help you identify those dies with lots of similar shapes, heavy-duty bags to store 12 by 12 and 6 by 6 paper, a replacement tip for the fine tip glue pen in case yours gets clogged, and a bow maker. Share my Evernote notebook of current products for a nominal contribution. It functions as a fully searchable catalog. Inspiration takes you to all my projects. If you're new to stamping, you might want to look at the basics. You'll find how to cut card bases and layers, what's special about Stampin' Up! Stamps, and some of my favorite tools. Under Organization, you'll find catalog tabs, labels and case inserts, a practically free stamp pad storage solution, a basic toolkit, as well as a compact desktop toolbox, and lots of color charts. You can take a tour of my craft wall. More organization means more time for crafting. Come stamp with me here in Ventura County, California, or get the best deal of all and join my team of crafters. The team is called SIP Together, and it stands for Stamps, Ink, and Paper Together. The team is made of crafters who want to save money on the products they buy, share with a few friends, or grow a business like mine. Be sure to subscribe to my website and on YouTube. I'd love to hear your comments. Thank you for joining me. Talk to you soon. Bye.